Alright, the Spurs continue to show why they're a real contender this year, and as I've said before, they remind me of the Thunder, because a lot of it just stems from their strength in numbers, so even without Wemby, they're still competitive. From top to bottom, they all know their roles, especially their guards, so they're able to have 3 to 4 of them on the court together without it being a detriment, and what makes it work is all of them being very aggressive, because that downhill play style applies a lot of pressure in the paint. Once they touch it, they're getting lays, sprays, drop-offs, lobs, or even whistles, as seen a lot in this game. And on the catch, they're all able to drive, shoot, or pass, so they keep opponents in a scramble. Then on the rock, they're all able to manipulate screening actions, and that's what really makes it difficult for an opponent to defend, because if they do contain the first side, they'll have to do it again on the second side just to get a stop. And even if the Spurs do miss, they all crash the glass, so they're always trying to get second chance points. But the unsung hero to their flow on offense is Kornet, because not only is he a hub for them on the rock, he also just knows what type of screens to set off the rock, and he's always looking to catch a defender and help, especially on the weak side. There were many instances where he pinned the nail help with a simple flare, and he'll even do that in transition, because that's usually when a defender is most susceptible, so anytime a defender's ball watching or not ready, he'll immediately look to screen them. When they're mixing in his off-ball screens with their SNRs, their DHOs, or even their 3-man screening actions, it causes a lot of confusion, and I think that's part of what made the Lakers zone up at times in the first half, then them switching everything more in the second half, because they were struggling to contain the rock, so once the Spurs got control of the game early, they could never fully run it back. The Spurs were able to get it at the end of the first when Harp and Keldon subbed in, because those two single-handedly shifted the momentum of the game, and from that point onward, they either made a timely shot, got a whistle, or got a timely run out off a stop, so they maintained that control until the end. The Lakers just couldn't get a consistent stretch of stops, and that's really what hurt them, because on the other end, they had advantages to exploit, so it was mainly their defense letting them down. The most obvious advantage was the Spurs having their bigs drop against all of their screening actions, because Luka, Austin, or Braun just exploited that space to either get theirs or find Ayton in the pocket. And even though I can understand Mitch Johnson trusting the Spurs guards to navigate screens, I think the Lakers just didn't exploit it as much as they could have, especially Austin. He missed some of his usual looks, or was just very loose with the rock at times, so at least Luka and Braun were able to somewhat keep the Lakers afloat throughout, because in the half court, Luka was just manipulating ball screens per usual, and even though Braun was doing that a little more than usual, he was still mainly playing out of the mid-post or wings. Then in transition, the two were always looking to push the rock for a run out. Their only consistent source of help was coming from Smart, because the Spurs were assigning their bigs onto him to cheat off of, so he was getting great looks from deep all night, and it was mainly when the Spurs were in their Keldon-Olynyk lineup. Olynyk was basically a roamer, and by assigning Keldon onto Hayes, it allowed them to take away the Lakers' SNRs with a simple switch, so when the Lakers looked for one, they had to resort to Smart being the screener instead of their bigs. Unfortunately, the scheme really didn't work, because Smart was able to trade 8 times, and he was doing it in stretches, so he created potential momentum shifts, but unfortunately, the Lakers just couldn't ever capitalize on him. With how hot he was, I think it was the right adjustment by JJ to go fully small in the fourth, and the only issue was just the other end, because going small also makes it harder to get stops, so when they couldn't man up, it just turned into an exchange of buckets all quarter. At least the Western semis will still be a great matchup, because I've been wanting to see how the Spurs match up against the Thunder, given their similarities, and even without Wemby, I think they've still got a chance at potentially stopping the Thunder from setting a new record. Just watch the tape.